Okay, we're going to do our 4th of July tiered tray kit. This is going to be great for 4th of July. You can leave it up all through July for Pioneer holiday, which is what I plan on doing. It would be good for Memorial Day, Labor Day, there's Veterans Day. There's so many ways that you could use this. It's not just a one holiday deal. I have 6 different colors for this. So how I started, first of all, I'm trying to eliminate waste. So instead of sending the paper and the paper plate, this month I've decided if you just open your box, you can cut it if that makes it easier. But that will take care of your work area, but also you can, as you can see, I used it for another project already. You can dab your paint off on the box. And then if you can give me feedback to let me know how that worked for you, if you prefer the paper and the paper plate as well. So how I started is you can't see, it's all around my table, but I separated all my pieces into the colors that I'm going to paint them. That makes it a little bit easier and less overwhelming for me. And then as you've seen in some of my other videos, sometimes as I'm going along, I realize I want to do different colors, and that's totally fine. But this makes it easier in the beginning for me. So I only have 2 pieces that I'm using black for. Obviously, the main colors are going to be red, white, and blue. But there are a couple accent pieces that I want to use black. One is the star, and the other is the frame for the stars and stripes. When I paint black, I do not worry as much about the edges because even though the edges are not pure black, it blends in really good. So I'm usually not as careful. And as seeing how with the star, you're really only going to be seeing the edges. I'm going to paint all of it just in case you can see, because obviously you see that the other star kind of came in pieces. But I'm just going to make sure that the edges are fully covered. And then I'm just going to carefully go along this frame. For those who watch the tiered tray videos, I know with all the other projects, the vast majority of people only watch like if there's a bow or if there's a specific painting technique. With these tiered trays, if you can let me know, because I'm trying to figure out what I normally do is I'll start painting one color, then I push pause while I finish, then I come back on because I don't want these to last 3 hours long. So if that works out, let me know. Or if you're thinking I don't need to watch you paint it, I can look from the picture, just get on to show me how to glue it together, let me know, because then that's all I will record. Recording the videos is what actually takes most of my time. And I'm happy to do it if people use them. But if most people, or I guess if all people say they don't, then I am just going to put them together at the end. Okay, I need a bigger table. So I'm going to set these aside here. Then I'm going to move to, I'm going to do my smaller colors first. For the gnome, this is literally like the tiniest color, or the tiniest bit that you need. I wished I could make one of the other colors work, but it would look silly. So the gnome, I'm gonna do tan for his nose and his hands. So just dip that into you know what? You almost can't even, you can a little bit. I was gonna say maybe we would leave that natural, but just the natural wood color, but oh well. We will do tan because it's almost the same color. Oh well. We don't really want wood grain showing in his hands and nose, I guess. gonna keep this kind of sitting out because I might do a little bit, I'll have to think about that. I might do a little bit of pink on the end of his nose. We'll see, because I don't also want it to compete with the red, white, and blue. Okay, I'm gonna send some gold this time. I think gold is gonna be kind of a fun accent color. Gold paint is not the cheapest, so I'm gonna try not to waste. So for gold, I'm doing the cutout stars. I think that's all of the cutout stars. And then the USA, and then the ampersand sign. So I'm gonna get another wedge. I haven't even checked, can you even see? Dip it into the gold. And do my stars. I'm gonna push pause really quick. I just realized this is a great time to be using your tweezers. Like I've said in previous videos, I don't pick the pieces up with the tweezers. I just kind of pinch it and hold it down. Otherwise, when you're dabbing your paint, like the wetness of it, I guess, kind of sometimes will grab hold of it and bring your piece flying upwards. And we don't want that. And I know I've said this a million times, but with the wedges, you dab it in the paint, dab the excess off on the side so you don't have very much at all, and then just dab up and down. Always expect, unless you want like the rustic look, if you plan on like sanding it so that wood grain can show through or whatever, always plan on doing 2 coats when you use the wedges. If you do too much paint, it's gonna spill down the sides and you probably just aren't gonna be as happy with the look. But if you do it really light dabs and really light paint, your sides should mostly stay clear. And just a reminder that if you do get some on the sides and if it really bothers you, honestly, I just say it's homemade and who's looking that close anyway? But you can use your sandpaper that I send with you and lightly sand the edges, or in the list of supplies that I tell people to get, the baby white. Oh, baby white takes it right off, especially if you get to it fairly quickly before it completely dries. But even if it does dry, a little bit of elbow grease will help a lot. I want to finish the gold, and then once I get to the main colors, red, white, and blue, I won't keep this on the whole time. I'll pause so that it's not so long, but I want to send out a survey to everyone to see how your kits have been going for you. So whether this is your first kit or you've been with me since the beginning, I want to see what's working and what is not. Because all I've heard is positive feedback, which is great, but I want to make sure, like, are you getting things that are useless to you, or are you missing things? I try to think ahead and make sure, yay, my sides are pretty good. I try to think ahead and make sure that I send plenty of paint, plenty of supplies, but I want to send out a survey to make sure that we are on the same page. Okay, now, let's see, I already did that color. I'm gonna do my blue this time. So the blue that I'm gonna do, I think I'm gonna really like this blue. Maybe after I paint it, I'll change my mind, but we'll see. So if you're following along with me, I'm gonna tell you everything I'm gonna use, then I'm gonna push pause while I paint it. But the banner, this banner, the solid half circle, all of those, so 5 of them, I'm painting blue. The US map with the scoring, I'm gonna paint that blue. The bottom part of the star, that came like that way, I'm gonna do the bottom blue. This part of the rocket with the stars cut out, the star from the gnome, the star cut out from the gnome's hat, and then stripes. So I'm going to use my foam brush on the map because it is bigger, but then I'm going to use a wedge for all the other pieces. So I'm going to paint that. Like I say, probably plan on 2 coats unless you're planning on sanding after because you want that rustic look. Then just do 1 coat because then it's less sanding. So I'm going to paint this, then we'll come back and discuss the next color. I realized, just in case this is your first time painting, I didn't explain with the, by the way, I love this blue. If it's not a black color, because that's not going to show, and you really want to make sure that you don't get it on the edges, you're going to dip your foam brush in the paint, and you just the very tip. You don't want to do a ton. Then I start in the middle of the project, and then I slowly go out towards the edges, keeping my brush angled up. That's going to help a lot. Really, the only way you're going to get it on the sides is, number 1, if you go too fast. Number 2, if you put way too much paint on your brush, then it's going to drip down. Or number 3, which is me, I get paint on my fingers and then I'm holding the edges and I transfer it. And so, like I say, you can either leave it or just wipe it off with a baby wipe or sand it. But if you use this technique, that's going to be the best way. Once I paint, like when I'm getting towards these weird edges, I just kind of dab and go around, but then I try to very, very softly go in the same direction, just so it's going to look more uniform and it will look a lot more professional in the end. So as you can see, I'm dabbing down, but then I lightly come back and go the same direction as the rest of my piece. Okay. And it's okay if you cover some, I don't know if you can see, some of the words show up good, some don't. That's just a guideline for your 3D cutouts to lay over. So as long as you can see a little bit, you're totally fine. Okay, I'm gonna paint the rest with the wedge and then come back on here. Okay, I finished the blue, and as I was painting it, I realized that I missed a couple things previous. When I was painting black, the gnome outline cut out, I want his shoes to be black. So I am just going to get the foam brush and paint where his shoes are. You don't have to be careful because you have a beard cut out that's going to cover where the beard is. So as long as you get all of this shoe area, and then my star has some streaks that I want to make sure that the edges are covered completely. It might be covered by the star, but just in case, I want to give it one more coat. And then the other color that I missed before, is because it was in a different color pile, because I also need to color it a different color, is the outline of the rocket, the one that has the score marks in it. I'm going to paint gold inside here because this part that has the cutout, I want my stars that show through, I want them to be gold. So this was my gold wedge. Just going to dip it in the gold, dip the excess out, and then I'm just going to cover most of the inside. Oops, I almost went into the white. I don't want to get outside of the outline because I'm going to paint that a different color. And then I'm going to kind of, it's still wet, so I don't want to put it down. But as I can see, if I hold it above, I have covered it all in gold. So those will probably both need a second coat. So I'm going to set those aside and I'll do that in a minute. I'm going to do let's do the red, because the white, those two are white as well. So I want them to be completely dry before I move on to that. So what I have for the white, and then I'll push, or I mean the red, sorry. Did I say that? I'm doing the white last because I want these two to be completely dry and they're white. So the outside of your banners will be red. The heart that came off of the US map, the stars cut out, the top, it looks like a witch's hat, but it's the top of the star that says, it's this star, the USA star. The top of the rocket and the gnome's hat. I'm going to do all of that red, and I'm going to use a wedge for all of that. So the same technique, dip it into your paint, dip the excess off onto your box, and then 2 coats. And then we will come back here for white. Now we are on to our very last color, which is white. So that is going to be the background of the stars and stripes that has it etched in. The middle part of the star that has USA etched in it. For the banner, it's the little ruffly piece, I guess you would say. For the US map, all the lettering, land that I love. The gnome's beard, and then I'm going to do the rocket. I'm going to do the outer edge of that, white. And then with the gnome, I'm going to do the outer edge of his hat because that's going to show through. You can go ahead and paint the beard if you want to, but this beard fits exactly onto it. So you're not going to see, you won't see that. But when you put, let's see if it's dry. When you put the hat on, you can see the outer edge as well as the stripes through. So you're going to want to do that white. So I am going to use, obviously I'll use a wedge on the smaller pieces, but I'm going to use my foam brush for this, the beard, this outline, and then I'll probably use a foam brush for the outer edge of the rocket. Whatever you feel gives you the most stability and will help you get, especially when it's like you're trying to go over the gold or around the gold and you don't want to hit the gold. So whatever is going to give you the best detail work. I don't really know what word I'm looking for, but it's all personal preference. So, and I'm going to make sure that I keep my foam brush angled, and then as I hit the edge, and you'll want to make sure that you for sure get anywhere when you're doing the rocket, get anywhere that the etching is not showing. Does that make sense? Because the rocket is going to only cover that. It's not going to overlap. So I don't want to put it down yet, but anything outside of the lines, that's what I should have said. How you color inside the lines, that's what you're going to want with the white. And for sure, I'm doing 2, maybe 3 coats with white. And same thing, I'm going to make sure that I put it in the middle first and then go towards the edge. And I'm going to go this way because it helps give me more control, but then lightly push the paint in one direction. And make sure that you go a little bit below even and to the point where the sun is going down. So there we go. I might need to turn my lights off so that you can see. I was trying to beat the sun because I know it's hard to see in the camera once it hits right over here. Oh, there you can see. I went a little bit below to make sure that the white is covering it. Okay, I'm going to finish painting all of this 2, maybe 3 times, and then we'll get together to put everything together, the exciting part. Once you have everything painted, it is time to put it all together. When you open your super glue, with the tier trays, I give a bigger super glue than this. I just happen to already have this open, but make sure that you open it over your box, just in case there's pressure that builds up and it comes out. You don't want it to spill all over your newly painted project. Okay, if there are any pieces that didn't dry evenly, or let's say you can see the brush strokes more than you want, that's why I send a little bit of sandpaper. Or if you feel like you want to distress it, then sand that. But if it's just the brush strokes, I barely put any pressure at all. I'm doing it over here because it creates a lot of dust. And just a very, very light sanding. The harder you push, the more paint's gonna come off, and then you might have to paint it again. I usually have like a paper towel, just a dry one, to clean it off, because obviously you don't wanna try to glue over dust. Okay, I am going to go ahead and glue my stars on first. So these stars are slightly different, so make sure that you lay them over first, over the etching on your stars and stripes, to make sure that you know which one goes where, so it covers it completely. Little bit of super glue goes a long way. You don't need to go all the way to the edge. I just put some right in the middle and then hold it down for like 3 to 5 seconds. The bigger pieces, like the frame, I'm gonna hold longer just because they might not be perfectly flat, and it might need just a little bit more time to cure. Literally like 1 dot of super glue, and then try not to drop it. It dries really fast. That is the thing that you need to know, is you need a little tiny bit, but you also kind of have to work fairly quickly. Okay, now let's do the stars and stripes. You do not need to glue every single piece. I'm going to just glue like the big parts. I'll show on a smaller piece another technique, but I'm going to just get a little bit of glue that's already coming out. I don't want to really squeeze it or else it's gonna go everywhere. I kind of just drag. Can you hear that? I drag it along so there's excess on the lid, and that is what's really going to glue it down, or spread the glue, I should say. Okay, try to get over the edge. I might have to use 5 fingers. These little pieces are a lot more bendable. Okay, and then the and sign, I'm gonna squeeze the glue here and then use the excess that's already on the tip, so I'm not gonna squeeze it, to kind of drag along the ends. So not squeezing, just getting the excess. If using tweezers helps you, or if you really want to make sure that you don't get glue on your fingers, then use the tweezers. I prefer just holding them. I have super glue in my hands frequently, so it doesn't really bother me. It comes off pretty quickly. Okay, And then I realized after I cut this on mine that I cut the dot on stripes separate. Normally when I'm designing, I will weld the dot to the eye so that it's like one piece. It makes it easier. And I didn't do that. And so the dot is lost somewhere. So on mine, I'm not gonna have a dot over the eye, but on yours, it will be attached. Okay, for the frame, just stay near the middle. Try not to go towards the edge. Of course, I'm going to hit the edge because I'm going quick, trying to get it to go. And then eyeball it. I hold it over, eyeball it to make it straight and even as possible. And then this I'm gonna hold down for 5 to 10 seconds because it might not be super straight. So you want it to dry before it pops up. Otherwise you have to put glue back in there, and if part of it is glued and part of it isn't, it's gonna be a pain in the butt. Okay, and then we have our first piece. Okay, I'm gonna push pause real quick. I went ahead and turned my lights off. I needed them on while I painted, but you can see the colors better if I don't have overhead lighting. Okay, we'll do the rocket next. This one I'm going to sand because you can see my brush marks. However, here's the thing. When you're sanding the white, if I wanted to sand the gold, use a different part of the sandpaper. Otherwise, you're going to transfer white paint onto the gold, and you don't want that. And I'm just going to sand very, very slightly, just to make it a little bit more smooth. The red needs it a little bit. Okay, now the top of the rocket, my hands are all dusty. So for the top of the rocket, lay it down first, like if you can see that, to make sure it matches. Because even though it's a triangle, they're not perfectly even. So that's the way it should go. But as you can see, that's gonna look, it kind of looks like it matches, but you're gonna see the etching underneath. So make sure you know which way it's supposed to go before you glue it down. And then I'm just going to do like a mini triangle of super glue in there. Line it up and make sure you don't see any of the edges. Just hold down for 2 seconds. And then I'm gonna squeeze a little bit out, and then use the excess without squeezing for the ends. Then I'm gonna line up the bottom first, the little rocket tail. I love 4th of July. I don't love inexperienced people lighting off fireworks though. We had some kids who lit some off last year where they weren't supposed to. It was like a restricted area, but they thought, oh, it'll be fun. And they set the field on fire right by our house. It was literally just on the corner, and I was so nervous because it was such a dry year, and this year's gonna be even worse. So there is a little bit of anxiety for me as well, but I do love it. Okay, so this star goes in 3 different sections. I'm gonna do the top first. I almost need the light, oh, but then you can't see it. Okay, I'm gonna glue it as well as I can without the light. I'm gonna start with the top. I'm gonna do that, and then a quick little line, and then I'm just gonna leave an even amount for the outline around it. It's kind of hard to see because the outline of my star is black and my table is black and I don't have my light on, but I want you to be able to see it. So it might end up being a little uneven. That's okay. Just forgive the pictures. If you see it uneven, just say, well, it is what it is. Okay, then this USA goes right underneath it. Okay, that's not bad. Hold that down for just a few seconds, and then the bottom of the star, I might run out of super glue because I've used it a couple times. Sorry, I have to look at it in the window light. Oh, I got some white paint transfer, but just the dust. Okay, now I'm going to show you a different technique for the U, S, and A because it is a smaller piece. So if you want, you can just hold it and glue, and you'll probably super glue your fingers in it. That's okay. Another technique you can use is use your box. This is just an old paper plate. I put a little bit of super glue onto the paper plate, and you can either use your fingers or the tweezers. Dip the small piece in the super glue and then set it down. That way you're not trying to put glue while you're holding it. Does that make sense? So I'll do that again. Put a little bit of super glue on the plate. Dip. And then I put my S upside down. I'll need some more super glue now. Make sure you know which way your S is going before you set that down. And then I'll need some more super glue. For my A, dip the excess off on the side. There we go. Okay. And then that is done. You've got your USA star. Oh, no, I almost forgot. I had them set out here too. And then these little stars. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of super glue in the middle, and I'm gonna go ahead and put one right there. You can put these anywhere you want. I just like them on this star. And you can lay them out however you want as well. Be creative. These are the stars that are they kind of have a blunt end. The stars in here are sharper ends, and then these ones are a little blunter. Do the map. I want to do a little sanding. I don't know why. Maybe it's just me, but every time I use white, it's a little bit rougher of a finish. And I don't know why. It's only with the white paint. Everything else seems so smooth. And I've tried a ton of different white paints. Okay. Now, as you can see, there's etching to help you along the way. Oh, come on. Oh, there we go. Try to hurry so it doesn't dry before I get it down. And I'm just going to start on one end and work my way to the other to make sure that it's lined up. Let's do that. Sorry if you can hear the TV in the other room. My son is watching Studio C or something like that. I think it's from the creators of, I think it's like a branch off of that or something. Whatever you have to do to try to make it quiet. It's a Sunday today. Last time I did a video on a Saturday, and I had kids in and out and asking questions, and which is 100% fine, but it made the video. Well, not the video because I had to keep pushing pause. It made my painting take a lot longer than it usually does. Let's see. Okay, so that I think kind of super glued myself a little bit. I would like to know one person who doesn't super glue their fingers. You're a superhero if that happens. I'll just put this in paint. It's okay. And then this little heart, put it right there. I hope I'm placing this correctly. It's kind of dark. It doesn't look like it on the video, but. And that is our cute little map. Oh, I think that might be my favorite piece. Let's do the gnome. We'll save the banana for last because I need to go. I'll have to push pause and go and cut some twine. I wasn't prepared for that. Okay, for the gnome, I'm actually going to work from the bottom up. I think that will make it easier to line up. Okay, so the beard. Come on. I might be out. I knew that was going to happen. I'll have to get me. Okay, I'll have to push pause. I'm out of glue. Okay, I got more glue. So the beard, start over on that. The beard is going to match up perfectly to the outline. So make sure that the edges all match. And then hold it down for just a few seconds. So I just matched up the hair part of it. Okay, then I'm going to do his hat. Just gonna put some here, 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 and then just use the excess that's on the lid to kind of hit the edges. And then just kind of eyeball it and have it outline, have the outline even around the edges. There's no specific way. So there's going to be the white outline and then the star part of the hat. Just drop that in there. Okay. Now, as far as the nose, the hands, and the star, lay them out before you start gluing because you need to make sure that the star is not going to hit the nose. That's going to be the most important thing. Okay, I'm going to glue the nose first. And the nose goes right on the edge of the beard. Oops. I hate it. It was perfect and then I touched it. And I made it off center, but I fixed it. Okay. Then I'm going to move my hands a little bit and I'll do the star. But since the nose is in place, I at least know the star isn't going to hit his nose. So that's pretty much all you needed to be sure of. So this gnome, I actually made it into, I don't know if you can see, a sign back there, and I did a poll to see if people liked the sign or like, because I did like, it was like a door hanger. You could put it in with a wreath on your door, but most people voted to just have the gnome and miniaturize him for the tiered tray. So that's what I did. I just shrunk him right down. I did have to modify it a bit though to make it work in the smaller size. Okay, and then we have our adorable gnome. I love gnomes. Okay, let's do our banners. So, trying to think the best way. The best way is probably going to be the white part first, because then, yeah. What if I regret that? I don't. Okay, do a smile size glue. Then eyeball it and make sure it's got to touch the top, and then just have it be an even amount from edge to edge. So I eyeballed this and then made sure that these, can you see, touch the top, because then your blue is going to fit right in there. And make sure, the most important thing is going to be that it also follows the edge. Okay. And then we're going to do that with all of them. I'm only going to do one more, then I'm going to push pause, because I actually need to measure how long of a twine. I think 3 feet is going to be great, but oh, that one's a little off. That's okay. I will put that one on the side. Don't be too hard on yourself if you make like little mistakes like that. It's totally fine. Nobody looks that close. Okay, I'm gonna finish this, and then I'm going to go and, yeah, I'm gonna measure the twine. Ooh, I might need to do 4 feet, because I'll be back. Okay, 2 more things. Now is the time where you would want to go back through your pieces and add little tiny details to make it stand out. So I'm going to take a toothpick. Yes, I have this gallon white paint. I go through a lot of white. I'm just going to dip the end in, and I'm just going to do like 3 little dots here, just to add a cute little detail, maybe 3 little dots here, just so that it kind of gives it a little highlight. Maybe I'll do it on my banner as well. Do I want to do 3, or do I want to like do, The best thing is, if you don't like it, sand it, repaint it. It's not going to take a lot. It's just going to add just enough of a little tiny detail to make it yours. And then I don't think I want one there. Where's my little gnome? Maybe I want to give his boot a shine. So I'm going to do a little highlight. So I'm just gonna drag, dip it, and drag it down the tip of his boot, or the top of his boot. Except for I need to add more paint into my toothpick. So just so that his boots have a little bit of something, something. And do I want it on my heart maybe? Do I want that, or yeah, I'll do that. So then I just added a little on there. Okay. So, because you'll have plenty of paint left over. Once that is all dry, I don't know if mine is dry, I'm gonna be honest, but I am going to thread mine. If I thread it from the top, it's going to hide my little detail I just painted. Maybe I'll thread like this. Do you like how I have that planned out? I'm not sure exactly how I want to do it, and that's okay. I'll figure it out. Let's see. Yeah, I'll go from the back. So I'm going to pull that through. Keeping in mind that I need to tie this. I guessed on the size, so we'll see. Okay, I'm gonna push pause real quick. Okay, this is the one thing you won't have in your kit. You'll need a teeny tiny piece of Scotch tape. And then I wrap it around the end, like super tight as I can. This is just going to help you be able to guide it through. So just kind of twist it. That way, because your twine is going to start, oh no, I'm doing front through the back. That was just an automatic. Your twine will fray. It's just the name of the game. And then you decide, do you want a little bit of space in between? I'm not 100% sure how, front to back. I don't know why that's so hard to remember. Until I get it on my tier tray, I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to have them spaced. So just know that you'll want to finagle it once you get it done. And that's it. I'm just gonna tie this around my tier tray. There will be nothing fancy. And then I will post a picture of how I'm decorating mine, and I can't wait to see pictures of how you decorate yours.